A few weeks ago, I made a video about Blizzard filing suit against Project Ascension. I ended that video saying this could be the end for Ascension and that the next real thing to watch for was whether anyone behind Ascension would actually show up and fight. Well, one of them just did. Ascension is showing balls of steel, and the first thing their lawyer said in court was that Blizzard sued them under the wrong name. There is a lot of fresh wind inside this case, and while everyone is doom-talking Ascension, they just released their biggest version of World of Warcraft Conquest of Azeroth. But that will be part of another video. We are looking now into what Blizzard filed over the last 2 weeks. Blizzard is now trying to put real names, real emails and real faces to the people who spent years hiding behind nicknames inside Ascension's structure. And to do that, they are going to Discord, to PayPal, to GitHub. They are following every possible trace. And there is even more. A straw man hiding Ascension's money structure. In this video, I will walk you through every new detail about the case, the applications, Dawn declaration and opposition, and because a lot of you are nervous right now, whether any of this actually reaches you if you just played on Ascension. Spoiler, it doesn't, and I will show you why in Blizzard's own words. Let's get into it. I read the latest movement since my last video on Court Listener to see what is going on in the case between Ascension and Blizzard. I will go through it chronological because several things happened, and I will start with a funny one. To start off, a summons was filed. In plain terms, that's the formal notice that officially tells the defendants they are being sued and starts the clock on their deadline to respond. This is standard bureaucratic procedure in court. Federal rules give them 21 days from being served to either file an answer or a motion. If they just ignore it, Blizzard can go back to the court and ask for a default judgment, which is basically a win because nobody showed up. I don't know about American law, but in Germany it would be possible to file an appeal even after the fact. So what the summon tells us is simple: the defendants are being formally served and the clock starts running. Well, the court actually kicked back Blizzard's first summons paperwork for a formatting defect, which is quite ironic for a case built on "we did the deep investigation." But the second summons got issued on June 25. But the summons isn't the headline. The headline is what Blizzard filed directly 1 day later. Blizzard asked the court ex parte, meaning without waiting to hear the other side, for permission to serve 13 subpoenas on some of the biggest companies on the internet. And the goal behind this action is to pull the masks off. They want to find out who's actually running Project Ascension. Their argument for the rush is blunt. The lawsuit has been over all the gaming press, so the people behind Ascension know they are being hunted, and online data has a way of disappearing once people know that. So they want to move fast before anything gets deleted. And here's why this probably isn't a long shot. The whole filing leans on the Turtle case. The exact same court granted Blizzard this exact kind of early discovery against Turtle back in October. So Blizzard is basically walking up to the judge and going, "You already let us do this once, do it again." I want to be precise because I couldn't confirm it myself. As far as I can tell, the judge hasn't ruled on it yet. But given the precedent, I would be surprised if it doesn't get approved. Now, what does Blizzard actually want from each of these companies? To make an account on those social platforms, you hand over a name and a real email address. And the platform quietly logs your IP address you signed with, and every time you log back in. So even if you have only ever posted under a handle for years, the platform still knows the email and the IP sitting behind that handle. That's what Blizzard wants. Then there is also PayPal and Payment Wall, the payment side. Same idea, pointed at the money. The names, emails and IPs tied to whoever was processing their donations. And keep this in mind, we will talk about this in a second. Namecheap and Cloudflare, the domain registrar, and the host, the registration details behind the website itself. And then GitHub, that's aimed straight at the developers. The filing says there are 2 Ascension code repositories sitting on there, and Blizzard wants the account info behind find whoever uploaded and maintained that code. The original lawsuit was Blizzard swinging at a set of aliases. This is Blizzard trying to turn those nicknames into actual human beings with addresses so it can serve them, name them, and point a shutdown order at some real people. This is the unmasking phase. And there is more. They also want to look inside Discord. I have already read some panic comments like, is Blizzard about to pull everyone who was inside Ascension Discord? I get it, but relax, that's not what this is. Blizzard says in writing they are only after information that identifies the operators, and they explicitly say they are not asking for content of emails, chat logs or messages. They only want to know who runs the official accounts. They don't want to read your DMs, and they are not fishing through member lists for random players. And once again, I'm not certain about US law here, but if they collect information in an unlawful way, they could get in big trouble. So if you played on Ascension or just sitting in some community servers arguing about the lawsuit right now, this filing is not reaching you. This is pointed at the people running the business, not the people who enjoyed it. And Blizzard's lawyer are either learning or they are sitting in our comment sections, because in the section where they argue for urgency, they predict what the people behind Ascension are going to do now that they know they are being hunted. And the list is basically word for word what this whole scene always does. Switch service providers, delete their profiles and aliases, transfer assets to other people or companies, move to different payment processors, and shift to untraceable currencies like Bitcoin. The community is arguing that Blizzard's legal pressure is exactly what pushes the private server scene toward anonymous hosting and crypto and people you can't trace, same as Octavouted. And here's Blizzard in a federal filing predicting that precise move in writing and using it as the reason they need to act fast. They are not just confirming the theory, they are building their whole legal strategy around it. Close the doors before the targets can run offshore. So here is a part that is really interesting to me, because they are talking about the money machine Ascension has built. Blizzard lays out the money structure like this. The donations from Ascension.gg get collected by an entity. That money allegedly runs through two shell companies, one in Nevada, one in New Mexico. And Blizzard says neither has an office or a single employee. Their addresses aren't real offices. They are the addresses of corporate registration services, companies whose whole job is to set up a business on paper, though it exists nowhere in particular. And the person listed as the sole officer of the Nevada shell, the only name on the paperwork holding every title at once, Blizzard says that's a registration agent who's listed as the officer of dozens of other companies. In plain terms, a placeholder, a name on a form so the real owners stay invisible. The filing flat out calls this person a likely strawman, and Blizzard wants to subpoena the registration company to find out who walked in and paid to build the structure. It alleges the two shells are the alter ego of Powell and Mannion, that they mix personal and company money, and even used a house owned by one of the shells as their own home. This isn't a whack-a-mole against a game server anymore. It's Blizzard pulling a thread that leads to whoever engineered the hiding. I'm keeping the individual names on the registration side out of this on purpose, by the way, because a placeholder officer may genuinely have done nothing but sign a form. That's kind of the whole point of a strawman. Now the newest turn, and it cuts the other way. On the 2nd of July, for the first time, a defendant showed up. An attorney filed an appearance and an opposition on behalf of one of the named companies. Not a middle finger from the shadows, a lawyer in American court in the open. The first thing the defense does is point out that Blizzard sued the company under the wrong name. Blizzard named Online Management Partners. The actual entity they say is Online Success Partner. And here's the thing, this is the exact same entity that Blizzard in its own declaration admitted it couldn't confirm was even a real company. It literally told the court it didn't know whether this thing was a formal legal entity or just an informal group of people. So the one defendant to lawyer up walked in and said, "You don't even have our name right." Now, I have to pump the brakes on the hype a little bit because I have looked into the whole thing. This opposition is 335 words. It's not a big courtroom brawl. What the defense is actually asking for is time. They only got hired the same day, hours before filing, and with 4th of July, weekend landing right after, they asked the judge to let them file the real substantive opposition by July 10th and to hold off ruling on the subpoenas until then. So this is the throat clear before the real argument. But even the throat clear matters because of what it signals. Someone is choosing to fight in the open instead of disappearing. And then of course there is another big thing. The same weekend a defendant is in court trying to slow the whole process down. Ascension did the opposite of hiding. On 3rd of July, the literal day after the court fighting, they launched the biggest thing they have ever built, Conquest of Azeroth. 21 fully custom classes, 70 specializations, a brand new support role vanilla never had, thousands of new abilities, free to play, and it pulled a serious crowd on day one. So picture the split screen. On one side, lawyers, deadlines, a judge deciding whether to tear the masks off. On the other, tens of thousands of people playing on Conquest of Azeroth, necromancers and tinkers into a brand new world, most of them not even thinking about the lawsuit at all. Same project, same week. Is it confidence, defiance, or just a release date that was always coming up? Is it a cash grab just to squeeze a little bit more money out of their product? Probably all of them, maybe not. There's something uncomfortable underneath it. Official World of Warcraft with all of Blizzard's money and people has never shipped anything like this. An official Classic Plus still doesn't even exist up to this day. These people built the thing the players were asking for and Blizzard just weren't able to do it. You can believe Blizzard has every legal right to protect what's theirs and still feel something watching the most creative thing to happen to this game in years get switched off right as tens of thousands of people falls in love with it. Both of those can sit in the same chest. So where does this leave us? The summons are issued and the clock is running. The individuals will probably not show up in case. I'm not sure about American law here, but in Germany you can just have your lawyer represent you. If that's possible there as well, it's what they probably will do. We have to see whether the judge grants the subpoenas and whether the other defendants fight or scatter, whether Ascension stays online or does what so many servers do and come back under a new name, and whether the heavier allegations, the racketeering, the strawman, the Russian hosting from the first video actually holds up once someone argues the other side. And my own take, I said last time this might be the end, and reading these filings it's hard to argue this isn't serious. As you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Activision Blizzard and the IP point was never really the argument. It's just hard to watch a scene I actually play and get taken apart this cleanly. I have had this before with Elysium, with Duskhaven, even with Season of Discovery, which was official World of Warcraft. You get used to it living on private servers, but my channel's going to feel it and I feel it too nowadays. But I'm not writing the ending yet. Someone finally stood up instead of vanishing. And July 10th is when we find out if that's the start of a real fight between Ascension and Blizzard, or it's just a slower version of the same ending Turtle Bow had. So let me know in the comments down below. Where do you land? Are we watching a real pushback here? Or is just Blizzard closing the door once again of an insanely good private server? Thank you very much for watching. If you found this useful, consider to like, subscribe and hype this video for more World of Warcraft content in the future. Special thanks goes out to my channel members who support me with their hard-earned real-life money. You guys are just awesome. See you in the next video.